live. I am so happy. Look at us go. Here it's another Thursday. What a beautiful day, right? It's so nice and
Gorgeous.
shiny. Shiny.
It's
Danny
shiny.
again. It's shiny out here. I'm all squinting.
Yeah, it's hurting my corneas.
But I'm so excited for our topic. It's projections. Like, what are we looking for this coming month? So I have Jeremiah here. Jeremiah will introduce himself. But before that, I am Alvin. I'm your local Reno realtor. Happy to serve you all. So go ahead, Jeremiah.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. My name is Jeremiah Eck. I'm a loan officer with Guild Mortgage. So I do all of the financing and all of the numbers and all the loans and the strategies. And that is my main role.
I love it. And he's so fun to talk to. Very detail oriented. He takes awesome notes, you guys. So if you are even curious, the first step is curiosity, right? And then getting information. He's the guy, he's the first step. So definitely reach out to him. Yeah. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, no, for real. And like you're saying, like we are a very good team, so we both go above and beyond and try to make sure that everything is ready to go for whatever your scenario might be.
Yes. And I'm always big on communication, big on making sure my clients really understand from A to Z before even moving on and signing anything. So, and I know Jeremiah is the same, and I love all his detailed explanation. And if you are even confused about anything, he's great at explaining things. So,
Oh,
yep.
thanks for saying that. Yeah, we got to make sure you get it. It hits all the way into the brain, into the dome.
So we'll get right into it. Jeremiah, I know everyone's been talking, oh, rates gone down. In your, you know, experience and what you're seeing, what do you think it's gonna look like in the next couple months?
Yeah, good question. So yesterday, Guild Mortgage, we just hosted the 2026 forecast with our, head executive of capital markets and all this stuff. And he's this big fancy guy. And he does, his role essentially is to coordinate with the government on behalf of Guild Mortgage. And then also he plays a role in helping price interest rates and predict what's going to happen and all these different things so we can be set up for success. And so what he was talking about yesterday is what is really going on that's going to impact interest rates for the long and short term? Because that's like the big question. Where are interest rates going to go and why? And what can we do to kind of help with those things, right? So, the government, and by the government, we mean the Fed, the Federal Reserve Banking System, the entity that controls all the financial policy in the United States, is looking at basically two things overall. I mean, they'll get a million things, but two big ones, and that is inflation. And there's two types of inflation. There's core inflation, what they call CPI, and there's PCE inflation. And why I bring that up is because core inflation only talks about everything outside of just the cost of food and energy. That's not to say that people don't need food and energy, but those costs drastically change from month to month, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes energy is super expensive, the cost of fuel is super expensive, the cost of transporting food is super expensive, whatever it is, right? So those costs vary greatly, and that's why you have the PCE. So that's one element the government is watching. And the second is the unemployment rate and also the labor market. So if we continue to have lower costs, oh, did I go away?
Sorry.
I'm back.
Yes, you're back.
Hello.
Go ahead.
So what the government is watching is if we continue to have lower costs for inflationary things, like shelter, food, energy, transportation, they go all the way down to even like the cost of like medical cannabis. Like that's part of like things that they monitor. So it's very, very, granular and detailed and all these things. And so as those costs continue to decrease, which they have been, the Fed wants to see an annual inflation rate of no more than 2%. Right now, we're sitting at like 2.8. If we think of when rates were really high, 8%. Inflation was sitting at like 9%, and that was back in 2022. So over the last 3, almost 4 years, the government has kept interest rates higher to de-stimulate the economy, to bring costs down, to help the American people, be able to afford living again, right? So with those goals in mind, if the numbers continue to be positive for what the government wants to see, and we start to see, it goes down to 2.8 to 2.6, 2.5, 2.4, down to where they want, they will then continue to monitor how they affect with rate cuts or not. If the economy does worse and these costs continue to increase and the labor market continues to decrease because we're having lots of jobs or whatever it is, they're going to most likely actually maybe begin increasing interest rates again, is what some people are saying. But if we start to see a softening in those prices and not a ton of people like totally laid off, a healthy number they want to see is below 4%, then we will see interest rates for mortgages get better. In COVID, the unemployment rate was almost 15% at 14.7, and that was the greatest amount of unemployed people since the Great Depression back in the 1930s. So almost 100 years ago, we haven't seen numbers like that. So to combat all that and all that, to say what's going to happen, most likely in the next couple weeks, we're going to see the next reports showing the final numbers for December. And then if those are good, then we'll probably start to see rates come down even further. But the opposite will happen if it's not what they want to see.
Okay. Wow. So great like meeting for you guys yesterday. What is your like top two takeaways from it? Two or three? Like I'm sure there was plenty, but what is the main ones?
The main ones to be focused on are kind of the things that we've said before. Home prices are not increasing as crazy as they did the last couple of years, right? I think last year they only rose just under 2% on a national average. So we're starting to see not in crazy appreciation for these next, few years is what they're kind of predicting. But you
Yeah.
also have supply and demand. So you still are short by like 4 or 5 million homes, and we're only building a little bit more than a million a year. So that's going to take another 5, 6 years to kind of catch up, maybe even 7 years. So I say that because you're still short homes in the United States, but they're not skyrocketing in price anymore. And then you also have a benefit to lower interest rates right now, right? So I would say my two biggest takeaways are that regardless of what's going to happen with the market, if you can afford to get in a home and you can afford the payment, you like the house, the rates are only projected to get better. If they don't, then you have a good interest rate. An interest rate of 5.5 or 6.5% is a good interest rate. And that's mostly what they were pre-COVID. So if we focus on that, I think there's a lot of people that could reframe their mindset and say, can I afford this? And does it make sense? And if it does, then I think now is a really good time to get into the market.
I hope anyone that's listening now or later is really tuning in and listening to what you're saying because I'm getting also questions like Alvin, um, is now I feel like it's always similar, right? Is now a good time to
Yeah.
buy? Or how is it for sellers? So honestly, like what you just said, that hey, it's kind of stabilizing, it's not shooting up or anything. So if you're wanting, instead of just waiting, like go ahead, don't wait and just take the next move because we're not moving so much right now if you're
No.
planning on selling. So if you are planning, might as well go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it now, then rather than waiting, because then you're still paying for that mortgage, and stuff like that. So, and then as far as
Exactly.
buying, you know, get in now before everyone starts jumping also and realizing like, oh my gosh, this is my time. This is my time. But then everyone's going to start realizing it. So if you're watching this now and you've been on the edge, get in before everyone else
Seriously.
because we're still being able to negotiate closing costs. And I don't think people understand like closing costs, that's a big amount, that you could save. Thousands of dollars that could be saved if you jump in now and we get into those deals. There's plenty of deals out there. And if you've been wanting to build wealth for your family, get into a home, build equity. Now's the time.
Yeah, because people don't plan for closing costs. A lot of people forget they even exist. You have like your down payment. Everyone knows about the down payment. And you can use like down payment assistance. You can pull from a 401k. Like there's all these things you can do to get your down payment. But people forget that you also have closing costs that go into the transaction. And people are like, what are closing costs? And there's
Hmm.
simply all the other people that are involved in your deal, right? So like you have the lender, you have the title company, you have the real estate agent, you have the appraiser, you have inspections, you have the home warranty, you have property taxes, you have homeowners insurance. What else is in there? You have the IRS fees, you have FEMA fees, you have wire fees, you have doc closing preparation fees, underwriting fees, blah, blah, blah. Like there's so many things. But on average, they total like 1.5 to 2.5% of your actual purchase price. So if you think you're coming in with 3% down, but you also have 2% for closing costs, that's really about 5%. But right now, like you said, the sellers can pay your closing costs, and they can do that at any time in the world, anytime, whatever it is. But right now, you have a niche moment because people are still a little bit nervous, but you have homes to choose from and good interest rates. So it's like
Hmm.
if you sleep on these kinds of periods of time, that's when you do start to kind of kick yourself and regret it because you do miss out on opportunity, like literally.
Absolutely. So, that's depending on you, then you're gonna be needing 10,000 estimate, just a rough
Yeah.
estimate, or more just for closing costs itself. So, if you're been wanting and been thinking, hey, last year, the year before that, the year before that, you've been wanting to hop onto the market, well, now is definitely a good time. So,
Yeah, like the question I always ask is it still a goal of yours to own a home? Is it
yes.
still a goal? Like you've been thinking about it, sleeping about it, dreaming about it, whatever it is. And so like you would be surprised, what people can qualify for. So just don't wait.
And I also asked Jeremiah, like, okay, are you planning on living here for the next like 4 or 5 years? And a
Yeah,
lot of people are like, oh yeah, I have family
that's
here
good.
and stuff. Okay, well then, how much is your rent? And they oh around 26, 27. I'm like, into something and build equity. So if you decide you want to live your life out in Hawaii or something or somewhere, you can get that equity and start new somewhere. So those are just there's so many options, so many ways where you can use your wealth with home ownership and take it somewhere else in the future if you wanted to. Or
Yeah.
let's say you get your starter home and then you want to upgrade because you grew, you have a family now, and then you want to keep growing and then upgrade again. You can. You just got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then 5, 10 years from now, you'll still be in that same apartment. So,
Yeah, I mean, we all know that the net sum of renting is zero.
yes.
Zero. You get nothing. Zero. So
Mhm.
like I'd rather at least own something than nothing.
Yeah, if you're paying that much, let's put that funds into something where you can,
Yeah,
build on, and
absolutely.
something that you can help family move on to better things in the following years ahead. So,
Yeah. I love
yay!
it.
I'm so excited. This year is very, very, very promising. And if you are, I know people can get shy. I'm like that too. I'm a shy person. So, we're here to just give
Um,
information. Another thing, we do have a first time home buyer seminar, our webinar. We'll be posting that soon. So if you or anybody that would love just information, see how it looks from A to Z,
mhm.
step one, to the end, we're here to help. We're here to give you the bigger picture. And if you even want a buyer guide, I'm giving my buyer guide absolutely for free. So just let me know.
Yeah, no, I also have a home buying guide. So if you need one, reach out. We have tons of information. And then our little webinar, when we post all that information, please share that out with people because I mean, it's just free information. And that's the number one question I get asked all the time is like, how does this process work? And like, how do I get a mortgage? And how do I get a real estate agent? And like, how do these things happen? So we'll talk about all that.
Yeah, see, we're just giving free information out.
Cool.
So just you can even comment below and we can DM it to you and you'll have it. You'll have free information and we're just here to answer any questions if there's any confusion.
That's it. We keep it simple.
Yeah. Any other closing remarks, Jeremiah?
No, I would just say, like I said, like I wouldn't focus on the headlines or the news or whatever your mom's friend said or your aunt or your uncle. Like they don't know, like what we know because we're in the business and we look at it every day and we talk about it every day with multiple people and we have multiple appointments and we go over all these things and we study it and we're really serious about it. And so it's not something that I feel like is a lot more of an opinion based thing anymore.
Data
You know,
based.
like we just have to look at the facts. You know, like anyone could have an opinion on what they think the home, market is going to be in the future, if it's going to crash and, to shambles, whatever. Maybe it will. I don't know. I have no idea. But all I know is that the data shows this information right now, and this is the history. And so, what decisions can we make based on the information we have that's actually real? Right. So that's what I like to focus on. And I think we have to focus on the tacticalness of it, not being emotional. So just go for it.
I love it. Thank you so much for your knowledge and the information, Jeremiah. I look forward to our first webinar of the year, end of the month. So if you want to
Yeah.
be on it, just DM or comment below, and we'll send you the link to our Eventbrite. Okay?
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.